there are 43 million young people and going into middle age and beyond who are trapped in predatory student loan debt. They happen to be very well networked. They're really good at self-organizing on the internet. There's only one place that they can put their votes in order to cancel their debt. My campaign is the only one that will do for young people what our misleaders saw fit to do for Wall Street not that long ago, when they bailed them out to the tune of like 16 or 17 trillion dollars when you count all the free loans that they got. But it was about 4 trillion in free money in the form of so-called quantitative easing, which is a magic trick that basically people don't need to understand any more about than that it is a magic trick. So it was about 4 trillion we gave the crooks who crashed the economy. It's about time that we bail out the young people who are victims of that waste, fraud, and abuse on Wall Street. There's a very compelling argument for it, not only because it's the right thing and the just thing, but it's also essential for our economy in order to liberate the real engine of creativity and inventing the new economy for the 21st century, et cetera, and also because social change is always led by the younger generation. Right now, they are missing in action because they're very busy working 2 and 3 part-time lousy jobs in order to try to pay back these loans. So it's good all around. We're the only place those votes can go. 43 million is a winning plurality of the presidential race. It's all about getting the word out. If that word gets out, millennials can come out and take over the election.
So
let me
just be clear on that policy issue. So Bernie Sanders, for example, says free college education, it's about $75 billion a year. Okay, now the mainstream media says that's unrealistic, but they thought spending $1.7 trillion on the Iraq war was lovely and perfectly realistic. So I get that disconnect. But your proposal, it goes beyond that.
That's right. Oh, yes. And in fact, by the way, on free college education, it pays for itself. So there may be some money to put in, but it's returned at a rate of about 7 to 1, according to the track record of the GI Bill following the Second World War, where basically, returning GIs got free college education. And Congress was following the numbers. For every dollar that was put in, $7 were returned. So this is just bunk about it not being affordable. It's actually not affordable not to do it. So
and what about the existing loans?
The existing loans. Okay, so they're largely held by the U.S. government, which is sort of the final, place of accountability for that money. So they should be canceled in the same way that the debt of Wall Street was canceled, essentially writing it off as a digital, sort of a digital hat trick, which is done in the form of quantitative easing. In the case of Wall Street, this was not good for the economy because it simply enabled more reckless gambling with taxpayer dollars, essentially. But in the case of liberating a generation to actually use their skills to do what they've been trained to do, to reinvent the economy, to take the risks that need to be taken in order to create that new economy of the 21st century.
So
this is great.
You'd write off all student loans.
We would cancel them in the same way that they were canceled for Wall Street.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you've got a student loan right now, you wouldn't have it anymore if
it's
Jill
gone.
Stein becomes president.
It's right. That's right. It's
okay.
gone.
I'm sure that the critics would then say, and I think it's a fair question to ask,
yes.
But now wait a minute, on Wall Street, they got the $4 trillion, but they didn't put it in their pocket. They had to circulate that money, so they had to loan it out to people. Now they got, to me, it's unbelievable that they get it at almost 0% interest rate.
Okay.
But in this case, what you're proposing is not a 0% interest rate, it's to cancel the loans completely.
So what happened on Wall Street was there was about 17 trillion if you include the free loans, okay? Mm-hmm. And the free loans largely got paid back. But still, that's important. If you forget about the free loans and just consider the money, the debts that was canceled, that was $4 trillion in the form of quantitative easing. So that's not money that was transferred to them. It's simply a debt that was bought up by the U.S. government and then essentially zeroed out, canceled. So it didn't put money in their pockets, so to speak, but it rid them of all that debt that they would otherwise have to pay. So that's exactly what we are calling for here, a quantitative easing, which is not money in their pocket. It's essentially that the government has bought up that loan and it tears up the contract. It's over.
Okay. To be honest, I'd have to look more into that proposal to see, how those two different things juxtapose to one another. But I get it as a general concept. you're saying if we eased Wall Street, why can't we ease the rest of us in terms of the student loan debts that we're
These are the
saddled with?
crooks who crashed the economy. So they took up bad debt by, through their waste, fraud, and abuse. And because the crashed economy then made it impossible for students to get the jobs for which they were lured into these loans. Students were told, you do the work, you go to college, you get the degree, and then you have a good job. The good jobs aren't there. The jobs that are there now, are low-wage, part-time, insecure, benefit-poor jobs. Not the jobs they were told that they could use to pay back these $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 loans with.
So, Dr. Stein, we do perspective here on the Young Turks. So we're a little bit different than the rest of the media. So I'm not afraid to say that what my opinions are from time to time. And I think you're definitely to the left of me. and I'm not sure that I agree with your proposal on canceling the debts. But as you were talking about it and explaining it, I thought, well, wouldn't that be interesting if your voice was heard louder? And then, because what happened when Bernie Sanders' voice was heard louder? We went from talking about all the loans that people have and have to pay, and it's their fault if they don't pay it, to all of a sudden having a conversation about free college is a possibility. And if you were in the debates or your voice was heard louder, and you're at that place in the political spectrum, maybe we then begin to have a conversation about, shouldn't at a minimum the students pay the same interest rate that the bankers do, which is near 0%? I mean, even if you're not going to write off their loans, why are the bankers getting 0%, but the students, the actual American citizens, have to pay a much higher interest rate?
Yes, of course. But I think the arguments really go beyond that. To me, it's unconscionable that we made this benefit available to crooks, but not to young people who've been victimized by the crashed economy caused by these crooks. I just don't get how that jives with basic human values. Why do you extend these benefits to these predators on Wall Street and you don't extend them to our younger generation? In my view, the right to a college education is a right because you don't throw your kids into the ocean and hope that they are going to be able to swim. You teach them how to swim. Well, swimming in the economy used to mean getting a high school education, but in the 21st century it means getting a college education. So going forward, to me, by right, this is what we provide our younger generation. We provide them with a college education so they can survive in the economy of today, and that is right and just, that we should do that retroactively, given how they have been absolutely screwed in this. They were basically entrapped into these loans under very false pretenses, and we all suffer for their being missing in action from society in general. Progress is always led by the younger generation, and if they're not here to lead it, we are all dead in the water. So it's to all of our benefit that we liberate them.